Welcome, everybody, to this, we'll call it a podcast, but it's more of a screencast here today. Very happy to have Jeff Bennett on from the NoteTraderExchange. Jeff has a lot of experience going back through 2007. Is this New Jersey Home Relief? Is that your first introduction into the real estate space, Jeff?
Yes, yeah, it is. That's when I first came out of programming.
All right. So began as a programmer, got into real estate. Then you moved on. You were monster house hunters for a while. Says you're private real estate investors, and you're buying 5 to 6 houses a month in New Jersey. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep, and as well as a lot of seller financing, not in New Jersey, but across the rest of the country.
Awesome. And so seller financing, that is presumably how you moved into in 2010 into the role as the note coach, and was that through the performing notes that you were generating through seller financing?
That's correct. Yes.
Cool. And so now, with all this background, with the technology background, all the real estate background, and the performing note background, and then moved into non-performing notes, now this year, a few months ago, I should say August 2016, because I don't know when people are going to be listening to this, but you opened this business, the NoteTraderExchange, and that's what I'm excited to have you kind of walk us through today. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about why you decided to do this, to start this.
Well, actually, this was prompted by another friend of mine, Craig, who's a partner with me on this. He was running a company called American Foreclosures, and him and I collaborated on this. And since I had the technology background, I built this from the ground up. And what we saw was just a way to market and to bring people together. Out there in the market space, I run with a lot of wholesalers. I know a lot of different people in the note industry, but everybody's all not connected. So what we're trying to do is build something to bring everybody together, both the wholesalers and the buyers and the sellers. So we came up with what I've been just telling people. This is an eBay style website for buying and selling notes.
Okay.
So anybody can list their own, as long as they are their own. That was one of the criteria for being a note seller, is that not just the fact that you might have it tied up in contract or something, but something that you can actually deliver.
Okay. So you need to be that's good. I definitely want to get into that off the bat. So if you're going to list anything for sale on here, you have to actually own the asset in order to be listing it here. Is that right?
That is correct. Now, there are probably some fundamental exceptions to that. Like, for example, I know a couple people where the sellers, they're not technologically savvy, so they have other people doing it for them. And that's fine, because I know what's going on. I mean, right now, especially as we're launching this and moving it, I'm very close to all the sellers on there. I know who they are personally, and most of the people that have submitted offers and stuff, I pick up the phone and call them as well, just because I want everybody to be clear. Plus, I'm making changes to the system all the time, based on the recommendations I'm getting from both sides.
Yeah.
Because I want to make this the best platform possible. So, and since I can go in and make those changes, then I can just keep adding to the platform.
Right.
Just to help it grow, and to help everybody be successful.
So if I had an exclusive right to sell contract with a lender, for example, would I be permitted to post that here on their behalf, or is that off the table?
As long as the lender's aware of it and the lender's okay with you doing that.
Right. So if I've got an exclusive right to sell,
then we can work out some of that.
Okay. Cool. And so, who are we seeing in here for buyers? Who's the right kind of buyer to register for this?
Well, I mean, primarily the buyers are going to be the people that are the one-off type of buyers. Because
Okay.
what we were trying to accomplish here is that we've got larger sellers. I am working. I'm moving right now to get some banks and institutions through the system, and I'm setting up some additional structure for them. And but what we're looking at is that they've got larger pools, and typically they'll sell them off to the large guys mainly because they don't want to deal with all the paperwork and all the phone calls from so many people.
That's right.
So that's really what we've been trying to develop here, is a way for them to be able to now sell down further level, so we can skip those layers. Because you've been in this business, as well. You know that by the time a lot of this product gets down into the hands of the guy who actually lives in that town, it's probably passed through 3 or 4 people.
Sure.
So it's so marked up and everything else. So that's what we were trying to help people with, because we could now enable people with a lot less capital to be able to get into the note business.
Right.
Safely get into the note business.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to build, a platform that's accommodable, works for everybody.
Okay. So I'd like to see inside here a little bit. I've spent some time in there myself, but I wonder, and I don't know which side you want to bring us into. I would imagine most of, probably 95% of the folks who are going to be watching this here are going to be on the buy side. So maybe we start there, and you just kind of show us what you would do as a buyer.
Okay. Well, I will just before I log in here, I'll just show you. It's got a lot of the basic stuff that any website has. In order to actually get access to see the product, you have to register.
Sure.
I know some of the other guys out there, they're showing stuff outside the system, and I just chose not to do that because I didn't want to, because there's a lot of personal information that's inside of here. So I'm tracking, we want to know who's looking at it, who's coming in, but you'll see there's information for note sellers, note buyers, for partnering with us. We do have a mobile app. I'm going to be upgrading that here probably in the next 30 days as well. I'm still working on increasing my resources, because I'm bringing on more servicing companies. I talked to more title companies today, so there's the system we're looking at here is actually on my test system. This is not the live system.
Okay.
So, but what I'll do is, we're looking at sample data here, stuff that I was working on. I'm actually going to log off because I logged in as a seller.
Okay.
So let me log in as a buyer.
Great.
All right. So under the buyer's platform, if you're not registered as a seller, you default right into the buyer dashboard.
Okay.
The buyer dashboard is set right up in here. You've got your typical watch list. These are all the properties. I did set some stuff up earlier. Some properties that you had interest in, so you can add them to your watch list. I'll show you where you do that. If you click right here on the address, right there is unwatch watch. So that's where that comes into play. So, but in the watch list, you've got some typical stuff in here. This little symbol here just means that you're a regular buyer. We are working on that additional status of called a trophy buyer.
Okay.
That's coming soon once the institutions give me the green light to do some of that.
Okay.
I have some basic information to help you make decisions here, and I've just recently added some declarations for the seller.
Okay.
So that he can actually he can declare some things to you. This will help for quicker, just for speed to be able to see. No, I'm not interested in that one. That kind of thing.
Yep.
If we can, I'll drill down into one of these. You have some basic note information. A lot of this is the primary stuff that you'll need to make a good decision. Then you have some additional information that they've given. These are those seller declarations.
Yep.
If they've, whatever they're trying to show you.
Yep.
And then some property information if they've got any of it. Additional property info.
Okay.
We have some due diligence here. I am going out. This is a bad example because Zillow didn't give us anything, but I am going out and grabbing some. There's one. So I'm automatically going out and grabbing some information, and I am working with some new data sources to bring in some additional information.
Cool.
Also, if I've got access to the county records, this county I do, then you can just click on this button and it just opens right up to the county record search. So it'll allow you to do that.
Awesome.
Or order title. Or that comes in from a third-party source. So you also, on this section, you can see the countdown of how long they're in. There's no reserve on this one. The reserve's not been met. You can see the highest bid, place an offer, buy it now. If they put in documents, which in this case I did, you can go and see those documents if the seller added some documents ahead of time. Also, if you've got questions, you'll see right here is the I already sent out a question, but it's really easy for you to contact the seller. You can just click the button and send the seller a new message. And then that'll get to him, and he can answer back to you. So that's all in there. From there, you also you can manage favorites. So here I have 3 favorites set up for Georgia, Florida, and then everything. But you can define them, set up as many favorites as you want. That way, when you go into your favorites, you can then just select the list. So let me see what they've got in Georgia, and then it'll just filter out for you.
Great.
And some sort orders for that. This column takes care of everything that you've placed a bid or an offer on. So if you look in there, you can actually click and see, here's the bids that have been made. The green one, you can see your bids are displayed in green. There's a green one on top. That's my bid. This one below is somebody else's bidding on it. And then there's the start price, just so you can keep track of your bids from that perspective. If we scroll down to offers, make offer, here we go. I think I already did one on there too. So you can see that an offer was already submitted, 31,000 on that. So that's the offers that you've made on that property. So that's the way that works. The closed is just obviously that those are just a list of stuff that you've closed. The under contract is the most. That's the one that's the biggest one. If there are some help screens, things of this nature all throughout, you can look at that. It gives you some instructions, like because some of it is color coded. You'll see this says red.
Yep.
Red means you've got something to do. Blue means you don't have anything to do. This is actually what happens when you go into under contract. Now, let me just explain. Under contract really is just the terminology that's used. It really means you're starting your due diligence.
Okay.
The contract doesn't get signed until later on in the process. However, there is an LOI, and I'll step you into that. Again, here you have access to the note documents if the seller's provided any, and they will at the closing process.
Yep.
Escrow company. This is the escrow company that the seller has chosen. So this is the keeper of a lot of the information and things, and this is just their contact info. It's just readily available for you to use. But here in the closing process, it really is a 6-step process for closing, because this is the most important piece that everybody wants to know about.
Yeah.
Step 1 is the buyer and the seller both have to add their information of who they want, and this is for the agreements. And you'll see that's this step right here, step number 1. So you've got your entity name, who's going to sign, all of these kinds of things. And then once you set it up as your default, from there on out, all you have to do is just say save information, because I'm saving it for you for next time.
Cool.
Right now, the way we have it set up, if notes are under $20,000, you can choose to close this directly with the seller. There's not really escrow, all that kind of stuff. You just work on that, and we'll work with you so you can work directly with the seller to get that closed. If it is over $20,000, then and the purchase price you're talking about.
Yep.
If it's over $20,000, then what we're doing is we have an escrow company already set up. So that way it protects both the seller, protects the buyer, and protects us, protects all parties.
Right.
So that escrow company then will, and you can see for this type of a note at this purchase price for this state, you can see that right there they've got the range for the price for the O&E report that can be ordered. You can order an AVM report as well for $12 to $20, and you can even order title insurance if you want. So all of those come included, but you don't have to. Obviously, most people won't in these kinds of things order title insurance, but all of these are set up, and these companies are already established. These are well-licensed companies across the United States.
Great.
So that's really just step one. As the buyer, you choose that. The seller's got their information, basic information that they're going to choose, and then it moves it into step two, which is there's a system processing in the back that takes that information and builds the documents. Now you can see right here, step 3, that's what happens. It only takes a few seconds. It's running constantly, looking to see can he build any documents. So then you can open up and you can see, okay, here's my letter of intent. So here's the letter of intent to purchase this contract for deed. And then it's already filled out, and I've just filled it out with some generic information here. The seller's already signed it. So that's already good to go with the exhibits. And then the collateral documents that the seller's looking to provide. So then it's just an electronic signature. Right here it is. You would just click yes, approve that, and that document's now signed by both the buyer and the seller. And then we have an agreement. Well, I'll click on it, but I didn't open it. All these documents anybody can go look at. All this is it's an NCND confidentiality agreement between us and you, and that's all that is between us and the buyer. Okay. And then there's if we're using an escrow company, typically the escrow company, they'll also have an agreement to sign, and that's what's enclosed in here, and they can just read through that, and then they approve those. Once they go through that process, the next process is again back on our staff. The admin behind the scenes is going to take and package all of this data up and moves it over to the escrow company. So the escrow company then will reach out to all parties, make sure, verify everything, make sure all the documents, everybody's on the same page to move this to the next step, which is the due diligence step. And the buyer would open up escrow at that point, which right now it's just 5%. For notes over, over the 20,000, it's 5% is to open the escrow
as a binder,
and that's primarily to and to protect the escrow company primarily, so they don't have to chase down people, and we know that what we're dealing with. Yeah. And then from there, the escrow company is going to close it out, and once they close it out, they're going to pass back to me some information, and then that's going to close it and then put it all the way back into their close queue, which is over there. So it really is simplified. I mean, we've simplified it as much as we possibly can for this. And the escrow companies are already on board with us. A couple of them, they're actually using software called Resware, so we're actually communicating with that, to simplify transfer of information and for them to set it up in their processing and their systems. Yep. So, and we're improving that as we go as well. Wow. So now that's the basic buyer's queue. Now the generic queue coming in is just right here. That's just a breakdown of all the properties available for sale, all that are in the bidding process. And here, I'll just quickly explain the bidding process. It really is, right here's the highest bid that's on the property. Yep. You can look at the bids. Here's the bids that came in. You've got to place a bid that's higher than the previous bid, or, you can click the buy it now. And if you try to put in a bid that's higher than the buy it now, it'll tell you you might as well just buy it instead of doing that. Okay. So then you also have buy it now, which are exactly what that is says, and then you have make offer. Make offer just means that there is a reserve in there. The buyers have a reserve. The sellers have a reserve, but that reserve's hidden. So if you go try to put one in, I will show you what happens here. If you put one in low, it'll tell you it's invalid at this time because it doesn't meet the requirements. But if you put in one above it, then it's going to ask you, okay, by clicking make offer, you're committing to enter into a loan purchase agreement with the seller to buy this note if your offer is accepted. All notes purchased over 25 require you to open escrow with a 5% deposit. Are you sure you want to make this offer? Make the offer. And then I think I just did Kentucky, right? Yeah, you can see that when they were below the reserve, they're just automatically rejected.
Okay. So how does the escrow company,
that's working.
Is there a wire? Have I got my bank information in here somehow? Or do I do that externally from the site? How do I make my binder?
In the escrow agreement from the that you signed from the escrow company, on their last page of it, it actually is in there.
Oh, okay.
If I went back in there, they typically have their wiring instructions right in there.
Okay, great. So it is just a standard bank wire, and it's not something that's done in the website. It's something you do just like a standard bank wire.
Yeah. Yep. You're gonna do it yourself. Yeah, right here's linear titles. Right here's their wiring instructions.
Great. So
that would be just something you do with them.
All right, and so I suppose it would just sort of, you're on pause until they get your binder.
Yeah, well, you can be doing your due diligence as much as you need to.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, as far as them ordering the O&E report. Now, as you build a relationship with them, I mean, granted, they're gonna move things forward quicker for you too. I'm sure. You know, they won't have to wait for that. You know, probably the first time or first couple of times they may do that and wait. You know, if they don't know you,
right?
Just till you build a relationship.
Okay. So,
but I'll go ahead.
Do you want to show us the seller side?
Yeah, I'm going to quickly log in just so you can see what happens on the seller.
Cool.
This is the seller's dashboard. First, they get an overview of just what's going on inside their system. They have access to an open messaging system. So if you click on there, that tells them here's all the messages that have been sent to them on each of the properties. See, they got the little green thing that they need to respond. These are messages that they need to respond to. So they have a little message center, and then they also can respond on each of the properties. Here's where they would create or import records. So they can create one note at a time, or they can do a bulk import.
Cool.
And we do have I do have a conversion program I wrote, because we have a spreadsheet that we need, because we have quite a few fields. And not everybody's going to use those fields, obviously, but nobody needs to try to convert to our spreadsheet.
Okay.
Because I wrote a tool that if they actually do the import and just say convert the file and import it, or convert the file and email it back to me, then the system will take it. It ends up on my desktop. I run it through a process that converts it into our format.
Cool.
So it only takes a few minutes to convert it. So that nobody needs to spend time doing that. Pending is the stuff that's been imported but is not active yet. So you can see here I was messing around with a few things. They can go in and edit the fields. So they can add, this is all the data that was imported.
Okay.
So they can go do that. They can add an image. Now they've got multiple things they can do. They can either upload their own. We also go out and get Google, and we get Zillow if it's available.
Okay.
So in this case, I just chose Zillow. So you can do that. Here's the declarations that they can pick. So they can specify some very specific stuff. That's the stuff that we saw on the buyer side. And then to activate, they just pick how long they want it, start date, end date, whether they want to start it now or they can actually start it on a timer, 5 p.m. or whatever they want to do.
Cool.
The different methodologies that they want to sell it for, and each one of them requires different fields to be filled in, and those are just highlighted in red.
Great.
So that's what that's about. So then they activate it. It goes into their active. So now they can see everything that's in there that's active right now for them. This means you want to take it off, move it back to pending. You want to take it out of active. Maybe you want to change the data or something.
Okay.
Here's all the offers and responding to offers. So again, if they're in red, that means you need to respond to them as a seller.
Okay.
So the seller can click on that and he can see, oh, here's my offer, here's the buyer, here's the offer, here's the net, here's the place. Now he can click and to accept the offer, or he can do a thumbs down and say, I'm going to reject this offer.
Okay.
We are working on a counter offer as well, but I have to do the mobile app in sync with that. So that'll be coming shortly, probably within the next month. We'll have a counter offer in there as well.
Great.
But right now that's not in there. And then bids. This is he can look at all the bids, active bids that are on it if he placed it in the bids. And then under contract, this is very, very similar to what you saw on the buyer side.
Yep.
Except in the note documents, he can load up documents, or he can supply a document link, because some people already got their stuff online.
Right.
So we just need a link with a username and password, and then that'll be supplied to the buyer for that. And then in here, he's got the same steps, 1 through 6 steps to go through that happens on the buyer side. So they're going in sync. And the other thing is to understand too is there are emails going back and forth with every step of this stuff. So everybody's totally up to date with what's going on. Every time an offer is made, the seller's getting an email. When he responds, the buyer gets an email. There's hundreds of emails that are assigned in the whole process, and then of course the buyer has, if it's expired, then he can relist it.
Great.
Or do what he needs to. But that's the general gist of it. Again, there's a lot of helps and different things, like right here is printable instructions on the whole closing process.
Yeah.
That can then be printed out.
Well, that's really cool. That is, you can tell by looking at it that you're in the business and you didn't just build a website, because just how thorough and methodical it all is. So it's really impressive. And I think this can be just a fantastic resource. I hear from people all the time who are trying to buy, the individual notes, and they're having a hard time, or they're not sure about their seller and all that. And I feel like what you bring with this exchange really is a lot, and can make a big difference for a lot of folks, especially those looking to get started.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, what we're trying to do too is it allows us to put more product in the hands of not just the high-end guys. Mm-hmm. Because now everybody can get into this and really go nationwide. And it allows you also to be, if we get enough volume, which I'm anticipating, then it allows people also to buy closer to home necessarily. Right. Right in their own neighborhoods and stuff like that. Yeah. So whatever they feel safer, whatever, especially for the new people getting started.
Right. Well, this has been awesome. We've got a link right here on this page where folks can go get signed up as buyers or as sellers. I want to really emphasize that, don't try and skirt or get around the rules as a seller. Jeff will catch you. This is a legit marketplace, right? Where we're not looking to get into broker chains instead. This is the other side of that, specifically getting away from the broker chains and all that. So don't try and don't bring any of that here. But you should go get signed up if you've got anything to sell, or if you've been looking to buy individual notes. You should definitely go get signed up over here for sure. Is there anything else that we want to share with them, Jeff?
Well, I will tell you that I have had multiple requests to put properties on there, so I did just recently add this. It is something. It's going to be a simplified version, but there are some of the sellers who have notes. They've taken some of these houses back, so they also want to put some of the houses up as well. So that'll be coming shortly. Probably probably the first of the year we'll have some of that stuff set up. Other than that, I mean, you do have your account settings are all in there, so you can go and adjust a lot of your account settings yourself to go set up your account. I will tell you one thing. Very important for the buyer on the favorites. If you go in, set up your favorites, because what that does is every night I'm running a process, and every day at the end of the day, if people added notes that match what is in your favorites profile, then you'll get an email letting you know that product has been added that matches something you might be interested in.
Cool.
Automatically, so that's important.
Well, that is awesome. This is it's really exciting, and I think, like I said, like anybody who's interested should show up. What is how does the support work? If I come there and I'm confused or I'm having a hard time, like how are you handling support with this?
If they call into the number, it ends up at my desk right now. I'm still training a couple other people.
Yep.
But pretty much everything ends up with me.
Nice.
So they feel free to reach out to me.
Okay.
I mean, right now, our volume's not that big that I can't keep up with it. So.
Yeah. Right. Well, great, Jeff. I really, really appreciate it. And again, if you're interested in notes, click the link below and go get started with this. There's no reason not to. There's no fee to sign up, right?
No, that's correct.
Yeah. And so how are you?
Go check out what's there.
I guess we should talk about that. How are you making your, how are you getting paid? Is it a fee to the seller?
It is. It is a fee to the seller. When the seller lists a property for sale and he puts his reserve in, there's a little bump that's added to that reserve, and that's where we're going on. We're going on the volume that we can push through the system.
Awesome. Very, very, very fair approach. Well, Jeff, this has been awesome. Thank you very much. I know that we've had a lot of folks sign up since we first announced it, and you're taking on a lot, and you're doing a lot of, you're probably fielding. I know as someone who owns a software, an app that people use, I know you're probably getting a lot of feedback and suggestions and all that. And so it'll be exciting to see where this goes. And I think it looks just fantastic and very well thought out. And I appreciate you bringing it here and showing it to our community.
Well, I greatly appreciate you and your contact and help in this. I'm looking to open all ideas. And you're right, I do get a lot of, I speak to a lot of sellers and buyers every day, and they've got good ideas, and I'm trying to incorporate as many things as I can in as quickly as I can, because we just want to make it the best platform possible for buying and for selling.
Awesome. All right, Jeff, thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. Look forward to
All right, thank you.
Seeing this develop. All right, bye-bye.